Ben, thank you so much for joining today. I was so looking forward to this.
It's great to finally catch up. It's been a couple of months trading emails, right?
Absolutely. All right. So here is the sort of brilliance that made me want to chat with you about this. So permit me to do a little bit of a dramatic interpretation here, and then I'm going to ask you about it. So weekend unpopular thought. If one of your objectives for IT in 2022 is business alignment, you've already lost. Brutal. Step down and let someone else move things forward. So Ben, tell me what's behind this. What was going on for you?
I think it was a lazy Saturday afternoon, and I had these random things pop into my head, and maybe I should filter some of them, but I'm generally known to call it how it is. There's, as you think about everyone, resets for the new year, and 10 years ago we were talking about IT business alignment, right? That was the thing, and I just saw a few things like that happening, and there's a broader context of just people not moving things forward, and it really irks me in the technology space, especially. Organizations that are happy to keep the lights on, and CEOs that accept that. Right? There's a saying: you get the CIO that you settle for, and and it's just frustrating because there's so much that needs to be done now, and business is changing at a rate it's crazy, right? And there's so many IT shops that are doing just the minimum, and there's so many that are doing an amazing stuff as well, and very high performing, and they're adding value to the business. And there's others that they scratch their head and wonder why they get outsourced. And I've always taken the perspective that it's even with shadow IT, if shadow IT is happening, you've got to look at yourselves, right? And what are we not doing? It's more a reflection of what you're not doing than the business, not playing nicely. So just kind of how I see it.
Well, and I think, to be fair, you all who are in the CIO influencer space, I think have been ahead of the curve on pressing on this, and I'm going to come back to that shortly. But tell me a little bit about how this shows up for you in the market. Are you hearing people wondering if they should talk to other parts of the business, or are you just seeing them not talk to other parts of the business? Like, what are you seeing, and what's the impact to the business by not doing that cross collaboration?
Yeah, you're still seeing smidgens of IT or tech for tech's sake, and we get wrapped up in how cool something is, and putting in these brilliant solutions that just aren't exactly needed. And I'll be very broad. I don't want to call people out directly.
For sure.
And what it does for the business is it's not answering their problems. And they go out and solve it for themselves and tend to waste a lot of money. And I've seen it so many times. They waste a lot of money and a lot of time and end up throwing things away because it actually doesn't work, because they get sold what the salespeople are telling them. And of course, everything the salesperson says is in the interest of the salespeople, not generally the interest of the business. I won't say everything, but
right.
a lot of, they're there to sell you something. They're not there in the interest of the business. So it hurts the business in the long run and holds things back and wastes a lot of money.
Yeah, and it's amazing to me that we are this far along in sort of when transformation has been a concept to us. We're this far along, and we still have these, we're kind of staying in place. I know Dion Hinchcliffe talks to his audiences and said there's like 4 or 5 stages, and every year he asks, everyone reports that they're like just gaining traction or they're at the same spot. So where do you think, I'm trying not to ask a leading question, but where do you think this really, the fault, the blame, the responsibility lies? Certainly the C-suite and the board have to bear some of this responsibility because they're not driving the cross-functional collaboration. I mean, what's your view there?
Right. Yeah. at a macro level, it's a cultural issue. And a lot of companies don't really want big, risky change, and a lot can't have big, risky change. And there's not an environment set up for celebrating failure as much as to celebrate wins. And I used to go with one of my teams, and we spent 2 years. It was a crazy project. We launched and they had to roll it back, and they were devastated, right? They were devastated. And it was heart transplant surgery in the tech world, what we were doing. And my attitude was, awesome, you actually got to launch. Okay, we'll come back in 4 weeks and the next window opens up. I'm so happy we finally got there, right? The old school is like, why the hell, you've had 2 years to do this, you screwed this up, and it's just all blame, 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 right? And that goes up every level. And so you need an organization that is okay. Now, you're not going to screw up the ERP system and not close for a public company, right? We're not saying everything's okay to mess up. But this you need to experiment. You need to be doing things, and you need to make mistakes so you learn. And a lot of companies they have zero tolerance. And I've seen in one company we were acquired by, and just the amount of analysis paralysis, because if they made a mistake, they thought it was fatal. It never was, but it was politically fatal, right? And people never got fired at this company, and they should have. But it was the political damage is so bad, right? And so it holds up all this innovation, and so you need this risk profile that increases so that you can move things forward. And you need a business and IT connection that is rowing in the same direction, right? And often you see them adversary, right? And you have this adversarial relationship, and that's not good. Yeah.
So what do you recommend? What do you recommend CIOs do, particularly in an environment where a CEO or a board is not necessarily driving this type of working? Are there just a couple of steps that CIOs or senior leaders in IT could be taking to be working better with the business? And when you say the business, who do you mean?
So the business is every function. You have to treat every function with the same respect, but maybe work with them differently, right? And so you work with finance very differently than you work with sales and marketing, right? Because the nature of their business and what they do. The one big step is work out loud. There's a lot of IT shops that hide everything, right? And you need to be extremely transparent. Here's where we're spending our money, and here's why, and here's the businesses the business units we're supporting, and here's why. And they're connected to the strategic goals of the company. Now, it doesn't mean, sometimes I have things called selfish IT projects. If we don't do this, there's zero benefit to the business today. But if we don't do this, next year, I can't help you because I'll still need to do this, right? And so it's working out loud. It's being extremely transparent as to why. Because a lot of people, CFOs, number one, I look at IT as a cost center, okay?
Yeah.
It's expensive. It really is. And some of that is good expense and some of that is bad. But if you're very transparent, and I worked in an environment where we just cut year after year, and I dropped 30-40% of my budget, right? And it's just, once again, here's what we're cutting and here's why, right? And it becomes a business decision, not a siloed IT decision. And you need to get that support up. And also, you need to bring more, and this is hard, but you need to bring more to the CEO first. You should never probably go around the CEO to the board. You need to bring it up to at least the executive team and have them make decisions. IT people will sometimes make decisions in their silo, right? And what I've seen with a couple of people I've been consulting was like, well, let the business make that decision with IT. Oh no, we know everything. We know we shouldn't do that. Or no, we've tried this 3 times and they've said no. Okay, but is it still the right thing to do? And let's keep pushing. So there's some, but a lot of decisions never get to that level, right? And your CFO is your biggest partner. They know where all the money is, right? And they can find money. And the really good CFOs understand the business advantage when you lay it out. They see it. Like it's accountants don't, right? CFOs,
It's good to know.
They really do. You know,
Good.
they understand we need to do this to move the business in this direction. The biggest thing, the last thing there is just connecting to strategy. You know, you really have to connect in to the strategy and where the organization. Some companies, they're just in severe cost-cutting mode, right? Okay, here's how we can help, right? But here's what we're switching off, right? You get trapped because they're like, you have to cut all these costs, and so then you cut services. Let's be real, IT is a lot of internal services, and then everyone complains. Well, if we've made that decision as a group, and I had this happen, we myself and the CTO, we cut executive support. And, you know, that's a good little way to hit home that, yeah, I'm sorry, but an executive now is the 12 people into the CEO, not the 150 VPs.
Right.
Because you all don't want to give up any budget. So here's how we've cut that down, right? And that's part of it. Was a little petty, but a bit of fun as well. I'll be honest. But it's that transparency, right? It's like, hey, look, if you all want to take 100 grand out of your budgets, we could probably give you more support. You let us know, right? Yeah, so, you know, work out loud, be transparent, and bubble more things up and connect to strategy.
Fabulous. And just before I let you go, coming back to the point about, because the cross-functional work is what I really care about. I don't think there's anything you've said here about CIOs and what the challenges are that we don't see with the other functional area leadership too. Right. So product marketing, sales, and success. And so again, commending you all and your peers in the CIO influencer community, because you guys have been hitting this message. That whereas I'll hit on marketing for a little bit, but you know, like all of the marketplace advice from influencers is about like account-based marketing as opposed to this higher level stuff. And if we don't figure out how to work cross-functionally, there's no way we're going to move forward. We're going to stay in the slog that we're in currently.
Yeah. And look, there is a time in the evolution of a process or a business function that sometimes you keep it small, you keep it in a work group, you can move faster. And a lot of the IT people get caught up with, we have to own everything because it's tech, right? And this is where shadow IT is actually a benefit to tech, quite frankly, because I say marketing, they'll go and with some oversight. This is the difference. We provide some oversight. It's like, hey, you know, don't do this in this language or whatever, but run, right? And they become the ultimate use case because they're just running quickly. They're going to make their mistakes. IT is not investing any time because we've got 300 other things we have to fix. And then they get to a point that it's a natural evolution. Like, okay, we now need to talk to sales. We now need to talk to customer success. And IT comes and says, all right, cool. Here's our architecture framework. We can help you join the dots. And they've solved their business use case, right? And that's how you turbocharge IT and really, really get things moving and start being that fabric that you can knit together these cross-functional organizations.
Love it. That's how you really turbocharge IT. I love that. That'll be a big takeaway for me. Ben, thanks so much for taking the time to talk. I think this is really important for the market. I think most of the market hasn't figured it out yet. So the more we can get across, the better. Thank you.